A new edition of Frank and Candid. I am Tony Nias. Welcome. All right, we begin with what's in the news as per usual. Fully vaccinated U.S. travelers should soon be able to bypass the more than a year-long ban on travel to Europe. So says the head of the European Commission while talking to the New York Times over the weekend. The European Union will accept unconditionally all those who are vaccinated with vaccines that are approved by the European Medicines Agency. The three vaccines that have been approved for use in the United States, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson, have all been approved for use in Europe. This will enable free movement and the travel to the European Union, and some European Union leaders have already indicated that this summer, if not sooner, is the goal. France recently announced its intentions to open to Americans by summer, and a handful of European countries have already started opening up to travelers who are either vaccinated or present negative COVID-19 test results, including Greece and Ireland. Head of the Pasteur Institute of Iran said earlier today that Iran's jointly manufactured COVID-19 vaccine with Cuba will be mass-produced in June, and it will enter the market on the Health Ministry's order. He made the remarks in a ceremony of the third phase of the clinical trial of the joint vaccine of the Pasteur Institute of Iran and the Finlay Institute of Cuba, saying that this vaccine can combat several mutated viruses. He added that in its third phase, 24,000 people in the country will receive this vaccine. According to him, the first and second phases of the vaccine carried out in Cuba showed that the vaccine had very few side effects. And protests in over 50 cities around the world took place on Sunday, demanding an end to the United States' economic, commercial, and financial blockade against Cuba. Events took place in major U.S. cities such as New York, Washington, Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles, Sacramento, Oakland, San Diego, San Francisco, Tampa, Las Vegas, Minneapolis, Seattle, and Indianapolis. In Cuba, some 3,000 people rode Cuban caravans in two cities, Las Tunas and Villa Clara, which was selected for being the two of the least affected COVID-19 contagions. Similar caravans took place in Miami, New York, Tennessee, California, Illinois, Beijing, Vancouver, Winnipeg, and Montreal, among many other countries across the 5 continents. This initiative came from Carlos Lazo, a Cuban professor living in the United States. Caravans aim at showing worldwide rejection of the 60-year-old blockade imposed on Cuba right after the Cuban Revolution led by Fidel Castro in 1959. Okay, and that's what's in the news this morning. Speaking of news, though, never before have we been subjected to so much misinformation and disinformation. Put another way, fake news. Journalism is in a state of considerable flux. New digital platforms have unleashed innovative journalistic practices that enable novel forms of communication and greater global reach, greater than at any point in human history. But on the other hand, disinformation and hoaxes that are popularly referred to as fake news are accelerating and affecting the way individuals interpret daily developments. Driven by foreign actors, citizen journalism, and the proliferation of talk, radio, and cable news, Many information systems have become more polarized and contentious, and there has been a precipitous decline in public trust in traditional journalism. And this is quite unfortunate, especially in times of crises. People depend on good, accurate information to make good decisions. It might be really critical to them for their survival. Misinformation. It's often referred to as fake news. In modern times, the term misinformation is defined as false or inaccurate information that may be distributed with the intent to deceive those who read it. Now, misinformation and disinformation, two different terms, mean two different things, even though the two terms are commonly used interchangeably. Misinformation and disinformation are not the same thing. Misinformation refers to inaccurate reporting that stems from inaccuracies. As such, it does not imply an intent to deceive. If there's a news item that has some inaccurate information but was not intended to deceive, it's just that they picked up some inaccurate information, then we refer to that as misinformation. Disinformation, on the other hand, refers to the intentional spread of inaccurate information with the intent to deceive. To be clear, disinformation is always misinformation, while misinformation may be disinformation, all depending on the intent. For example, if an article discussing COVID-19 vaccine and its efficacy is found to contain a factual error, then we can say it's misinformation. However, if later it is discovered that that inaccuracy was intentional, then the article can be deemed disinformation. There are quite a number of anti-vaccination campaigns out there, for example, all filled with disinformation. For example, recently there was a release making the rounds. It looked official at first glance. It purported to be from some judicial authority demanding that governments cease and desist vaccinations. On a second look, more critical look, the release was quickly debunked. In that case, the clear intent of that release was to deceive the public, and therefore was part of a disinformation campaign. Since the intent can be hard to determine sometimes, that is why many times people take these two terms and interchange them. Social media, biggest culprit. Social media has had a dramatic impact on the ways we interact with one another. Social media platforms have connected us to one another in new and impactful ways. Stories and opinions can gain exposure with unprecedented speed, giving individuals around the globe continuous access to a near real-time conversation about both important as well as trivial matters. With the increasing popularity of a wide variety of internet-enabled devices and advanced mobile internet speeds, more and more people are getting involved with social media. Indeed, a very high percentage of all adults use it, and many of us get our news through posts made on social media networks. Unfortunately, there is a dark side to social media. Fake news. Misinformation can influence users, manipulating them for whether it be political or economic reasons, even in terms of vaccination. So how can you spot fake news? Or what can you do about it? News sources develop their own reputations based on the quality and the consistency of their news reporting, particularly when it comes to fact-checking and presenting a balanced perspective of issues. There are both reliable and unreliable news sources, and we know them. And it's important for us to assess the credibility of a source when trying to determine the veracity of its content. Now, many times you come across a post, and if you look closely at the content, if you look closely at the release, you can clearly see it is fake news. Just sometimes all it takes is a quick fact checking on your own to realize it's fake news. However, some of us are partly to blame because we get fake news every day on our devices. And what do we do most of the times? We forward it. And so as we forward, and each and every person forwarding, we're giving legs to what is clearly fake news. And then fake news has a way of taking over. Unfortunately, fake news basically do a better job of getting out there to people than factual news. That is just the reality. And so we have to be careful about what our sources are. And there are times you will receive stuff on your device, but before you start sending that to friends and family, co-workers, do a little quick fact checking, because sometimes it is quite easy to fact check these things, but we don't take the time to do that. It sounds juicy, as we would say, and so we're forwarding. And the more it's forwarded, the more people begin to latch onto it and believe that it is true. And I have to tell you that the people who are out there pushing fake news, they're very good at what they do. They make posts look authentic, credible. And so it's easy to fool individuals, especially if you're not paying attention. If it doesn't seem true, it probably isn't. Use the same device you have to assess the credibility and to fact check before you do anything else with that. Especially in these times of COVID and vaccinations, there are people who are trying to make their case as to why they will not take the vaccination. And in doing so, they intend to influence others to do the same. And as they do that, they come up with all kinds of creative ways to try and make their case. None of these are really factual, but they sound and look good. And so those who are thinking about it, those who are on the fence, they latch on to this, and then you hear them regurgitating the same thing in conversation, that, oh, this is so and this is so, because now they believe it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not true. Most of the times it's not true. It is not factual. And it is easy to fact check. in many cases. And if you cannot use the device you have, seek out people who should know and seek out the facts. Just a word to the wise. Don't be duped by fake news. Alright, so that's my take. 465-2555 is the local number. The US number 718-577-2916 to join the conversation. We will take a quick break. When we come back, it'll be your time to weigh in and have your say right here on Frank and Candid. We'll be back.
Alone, do what's right. Cause I love you, brother, my sister. And we're in this together, my sister, my brother. I don't wanna lose you. I love you too much. I think it's better for us, yeah, yeah. It's better for us, yeah. I don't wanna lose you. I love you too much, yeah, yeah. It's better for us than your mommy to let it roll out.
Bless up, Dejo here, and I'm doing my part in the fight against COVID-19 by following all safety protocols and most importantly, rolling up my sleeve for the vaccine. So I'm encouraging you to do the same because that's our best shot of protecting ourselves, our family, and our friends. So don't wait, vaccinate. Let's roll up to roll out.
Welcome back to Frank and Candid. I am Tony Nice. Just a quick note from the Nevis Tourism Administration, from the Nevis Island Administration. The celebration of its 2021 Tourism Awareness Month of activities. In celebration of that, the Ministry of Tourism on Nevis will be hosting a 2-day tourism small business workshop under the theme Fostering Domestic Tourism. So register today and join this important training session. Learn more about the tourism industry, setting up business, types of businesses, sales and marketing, sourcing, finance, customer service, and other practical guidance to realize a successful tourism business. All right, that's from the Ministry of Tourism in Nevis. All right. We now go to the phones and say, all right, we lost that caller. All right, good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid. Good morning, caller. Okay, got a problem with that one. Let's try another one. Good morning, welcome. No? Okay. All right. Okay. 465-2555, 718-577-2916 is the overseas number, if that is more convenient for you. And we are discussing fake news and how impactful it can be to our lives, even more impactful than factual stuff. Back to the phones, let's go. Good morning, welcome to Frank and Candid. Caller, you're live. Okay. Seem to be having some issues with the phones here this morning. I guess it's too early in the morning. Weekend was too much for the phones. They're tired. Okay. We will try and see if we can rectify that. And in the meantime, try calling us back. 465-2555. All right. Facts versus fake is what we're talking about, and how critical sometimes it can be. Fake news, and it could be dangerous. Let's try the phones again. Good morning, welcome to Frank and Candid. Not happening this morning. Okay. Alright, alright, we'll be working on that in the meantime. Yeah, so fake news can be dangerous, really, and I'm really serious about that, because especially when it comes to matters of health, because in those cases it is critical that you get information that is good, credible, factual, because your life may depend on it. And especially in the last couple of weeks, couple of months, I mean, we've had so much fake news that, I mean, and sometimes it astonishes me at how easily these things are debunked by just a small little bit of effort. You realize that how quickly these things are debunked. But unfortunately, people don't take the time to fact check. You know, they just don't. They just run with it. And if it reaches especially young and impressionable people, it becomes their fact. And so you're trying to educate people on what is the right thing, but they're latching on to something that sounds good. Let's see how the phones are doing now. Good morning, welcome to Frank and Candid. Okay, we still not getting anywhere with that. We're trying to sort that out, but I know you're calling. Give us a little time here. We'll try and sort that out for you. But in the meantime, yeah, people latch on to these things because, as I say, they sound juicy, and people like juicy stuff. Let's face it, people like juicy stuff, and if it sounds good and sounds juicy, they will latch onto it and they will spread it. And it amazes me that when I get into conversations with people and they begin to spew some of this stuff, where did they get this stuff from? You know, and they spew this stuff with so much conviction. They actually now believe it, and so I mean it's crazy. We got I see that the phones are lighting up, but we're trying to see what the issue here is this morning. Okay, all right. So they spew this stuff as if it's gospel. Really, I mean, nobody at this point, nobody can tell them that is not true. You know what I mean? I mean, it's crazy. Okay, let's see. Okay, go ahead and let's try again on those phones. 465-2555 and the US number 718-577-2916. We apologize for the little difficulty we're having with those lines. We do want to hear from you. It's not that we don't, and to hear you weigh in on the subject matter, because it's critical. All right, let's see what we have here on the phones. Good morning, welcome.
Greetings in the name of
There we
our
go.
great African ancestors, especially the most honorable Marcus of the Caribbean Queen and Zing. God bless them, my beloved African brother. How are you, the family? How was the weekend?
All good, all good. Great weekend, and we're doing well.
Okay, good, brother, good. Now, brother, you're talking about fake news.
Yeah,
But you see what's happening, not just around the world,
yeah.
but you have too many people masquerading as journalists. Let me come to St. Kitts Nevis now. But you only have about maybe a maximum of 5 real journalists in St. Kitts Nevis, beloved brother. And I could debate anyone on that. But what we have is a lot of propagandists, provocateurs, and errand boys and girls, and political prostitutes, beloved. Because most people, they support a political party or movement. Everything that political party dishes out, then that's wrong, and they're still gonna spread that nonsense. Come on, you have a mind, you have a brain, think for yourself. If the party or political movement that you support there's something wrong, you're supposed to tell them in private, listen, man, what you said or what you're going around doing, it's wrong. And if they refuses to, brother, to stop it, you just come in public and condemn them to the highest heights, beloved. You see, but no, they prefer to put party above country, and that should never happen, beloved. You're going to spread propaganda. Suppose now, okay, you spread some propaganda, you bring down the administration that is there with lies, propaganda. Then, okay, next election, the party that you support take governance of St. Kitts Nevis. Then what? And that got for years because your party told us that there are people in your party told us that lies. And then the repercussion, when you take governance of St. Kitts Nevis, it still got repercussion. You don't realize that? No, talk the truth at all times. Regardless of who gonna be mad, who you gonna affect, as long as you tell the truth, talk the truth. That's all. And the truth will set all of us free. You can't be spreading lies and propaganda. And then when you look, got people traumatized, got people fearful, saying all kind of things, and it spread, and then people believe it's the truth. But this nonsense got to stop. Whether it's about vaccine or whatsoever, beloved, it does not matter whether now, in the future, stop the lying, man. Tell the truth at all times. Brother, continue to listen, keep up the great work. Pan-Africanism and perish. One love, my beloved brother.
Okay, one love. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Brother Tony.
Good morning.
What on the menu today?
Fake news.
Fake news.
Yeah, how impactful it is.
Oh, yes, that's a good topic, yeah. Fake news, yes. Well, can't do Brother Nabo. There is a load of propaganda spreading all around the world, especially in our little island, little federation, St. Kitts Nevis, in our country, especially with this corona. You know, this fake news seems to take over, and people believe everything they see on the internet. When you send a message to them, whether by Facebook, WhatsApp, or by whatever. No, Brother Tony, even in our politics, we got 5 years to solve. We elect a government to serve this country for 5 years. And you're going to hear the opposition or somebody who don't like the government or don't like somebody in the government trying to bring down the country and trying to bring down the government because of the political whatsoever. And that is so bad. But I just want to tell the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, party don't go and vote. It's people vote. No political party, PLP, CCM, NRP. PAM, Labour, no party does go vote. It's people who vote, they're going to make the exam vote. And when they cast the ballot to someone who they sit to represent them in the constituency where they live. You understand? And this is the thing about it now. I believe that since this unity come in, the blowing political culture done with it. May PAM for life, may Labour for life, may this for life, may that for life. Just like me. I was blind politically foolish. Everything and cuss people and get all kind of thing with people, but I done with that because he ain't working for me in that way. So I just call in on the people of this federation of Think It and Lewis. Whether who political party, so whether unity or whatsoever, but in election, vote for the best of your people, you young people in this federation of Think It Lewis. Vote for the person who will represent you, and represent you well, and represent your land. Brother Tony, you have a wonderful day. God bless.
All right, thank you. Back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Nair.
Good morning.
Yes. I want to divert a bit, just to speak briefly on two issues. One, there is an advertisement in the papers, and actually online too, of 152.5 acres of land for sale at Coppershell Bay, Southeast Peninsula. The Peninsula Financial Institution, foreclosure of some sort. And so they're inviting bids on that. And I just wondered, because some years ago, before we put in that Southeast Penetration Road, of course, Southeast Peninsula was always privately owned. And the question was why government did not purchase some land there and do what they did in Frigate Bay over there in some section, to put in the land, the road. Because once the road was put in, all the value appreciated to the private owners. Then fast forward, another administration came in, and the understanding was that some land was there, maybe delinquent in taxes and whatever, came into government hands. And again, instead of trying to make it available, developing it, and making it available to citizens of the country, instead they handed it over to Christopher Harper. That was then. And then now we have this 152.5 acres that is there. And my question is whether or not government shouldn't consider getting that land and doing some sort of development there. I'm sure it will more than pay back for itself. Not even so much development as taking part and doing it for residential properties, so that individuals there can, our local individuals, because people have money here, you've got people with money here, can purchase. Because there should not be anywhere in St. Kitts where you could just look, but you don't own. And this could be a good opportunity. So that's one. The second thing now is that the COVID sometimes, to me, is used to cover a multitude of sins. We have two important institutions here who have not called an AGM for almost 2 years. Well, definitely Cable and Wireless has not called for 2 years, has not paid dividends. And, of course, dividends are paid in arrears. So they would have accumulated the profit before COVID came in. But it's like an excuse. And so they haven't called an AGM. They do not want to distribute the profits. And Cable and Wireless, unfortunately, instead of owning at one time just 51%, was given the opportunity by government of the day to own 77%. And so all of the government has directors on the board, Cable and Wireless, British owned, does what it likes. That's one. And then the National Bank has not had the AGM since 2019, has not paid dividends since then. And that is another question there, because in 2019, seven or so directors on the board, 5, 6, 7 on the board, they were given almost a double increase in their stipend. And so for the last 15 months, I did a little calculation, and they have accumulated among themselves about $500,000 over that period. That incentive was given to them to, to sort of to encourage them to do what, the best interest of the shareholders. Well, they have spent 15 months, they haven't come back, and so the question is, well, how you haven't earned that in a way, because what have you done for the shareholders? So those are two areas I think that should be looked at, because again, National Bank is 51% government owned. Its government appoints all the directors, but it seems as though there's no concern for other persons who have invested in the company. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Nair.
Hey, good morning, the King.
Well, when you opened the bowling this morning, you were talking about epidemic what we have in the Federation and around the world, right? Now, I don't know if you had the opportunity to pass in this area on Friday evening. But what I see down here on Friday evening, the question the ability of what really going on in this country sometimes. I see about 1,000 and something people down here that have missed 3 DJs and a band. And people up and down without mask like it's business as usual. Who are giving this permission to keep the dance and sound down here? You know, I don't hear a pay dance. It's a dance to sell liquor and sell alcohol. Now, where are the COVID people and them? Where are the superintendent for the COVID people? How much permission he give for these people to assemble down here? You know, when you got 3 DJ and a band, it's just like a mini carnival. So it's like business as usual. I know I can't get no band down here because I got sugar cake money. And they ain't gonna give me none. So I want to know how this could get. I wonder they're looking on the television and see what's going on in India. You understand me? If they're watching and see what's going on in India, and if you see the amount of business down here that are by India, man, you may have nothing wrong with that, eh? Because the people them spend the money to open the business and things, and it's a good for the country. You understand me? But it's not a good for the country when they start to get sick, the natives and also me and other people. So I want to know what is going on down here at Port Dante every Friday. Every Friday is happening. You know it used to happen before? You know, who giving the permissions? You understand me? The police can't give permission without UDC. UDC can't give permission without the police. So what is going on? But we can wait till somebody sick and then they have to close back down the port again and all them kind of things. I want to know what's going on. If you could find out for me, let me know. Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see what we can do. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Good morning, Mr. Nair.
Good morning, sir.
Yes. There's no question that a lot of fake news exists out there. The term may be new, but it has always existed. Okay. I think what is different now is that news can be disseminated much easier and much wider. And as you indicated, it behoves all of us to check sources and verify, certainly before we go around sharing stuff. Okay? The question though is, how do we know who to trust? Everybody has an agenda these days, and there are a lot of unscrupulous people who tell you, well, the end justifies the means, and anyone who tells you that, you should scrutinize both the ends and the means very closely. And there are also people who would use the existence out there of fake news to shut down voices and ideas that should be heard and expressed. Okay, it's always better to have a mix of the good and the bad, the fact and the fake, than to have a monolithic news source, whether it be government or otherwise. Okay, because there's no such thing as I would call a reliable, totally reliable, 100% reliable news source. Okay, whoever pay the piper, that's how it goes. Selects the tune, right? And so, but we are after all 98% literate, and that should count for something. Okay, we should be able to distinguish between what is fact and what is fake. Okay, and as I think it was was it a U.S. president who said, once the press is free and men can read, all should be well. You would think that is the case. But in our situation, we know that the environment is very toxic for news. It's always pro and con, okay, pro and against. And the press is not a paragon of virtue when it comes to delivering the news. All right, like I said before, everybody have their agenda. The news sources have to make money, so they have to be very careful what they print. Okay, don't want to upset their customers, etc., etc. I think it was some media watchdog. Not sure if I think it might have been the State Department actually, who described our media environment as sensitive, which is a euphemism for not free. For in our environment, there are consequences for being objective. Okay, you're labeled, you're discredited, there are attempts to discredit you, and there are some ignorant people who will take up the cudgel for others and spread fake news themselves. Okay, right? What I think can help, would really help, is openness in government and freedom of information. Right? And according to the World Justice Project, we are dismal in this area, almost dead last of 30 Latin American and Caribbean countries in the area of open government. Right? How can reliable news flourish in an environment like that? Okay? And how can the media not protest this and call for change? Okay? So I think good governance would help, okay, in this respect of fake news, okay, because it allows for news to be checked and verified easily, okay, by independent people. All right? And I think that I think would go a long way towards eliminating a lot of the fake news we have around here.
Okay.
Okay then.
All right. And just to polish up that quote, where the press is free and every man is able to read, all is safe. Thomas Jefferson said that. All right. So, we got a caller. Let's go back to our phones and say good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Hello?
Good morning, caller.
Tell the caller examine himself.
Is that it? Okay. Okay, all right. Even some popular or quote-unquote reputable media houses, locally and internationally, thrive on fake news. You will hear people quote a media house saying, well, this animal news said so, whether it's cattle news, a dog news, a cat news, a donkey news, or Fox News. They'll quote and say, that's where it comes from, so it's gospel, it's good source. But sometimes these media houses deal in fake news. They, as the caller pointed out, they all have an agenda, so they deal in fake news. Sounds good. There's some people who believe that, what was the saying? If you talk first, if you talk long, if you talk hard, if you talk less, then you're right. Or it becomes fact by just doing that. So, there you have it. I mean, it's out there. And people, the key is, again, people have agenda. So, with an agenda, that's what you get. So, get a call? Alright. So, all you have to do is, well, for me, I would say, you have to be vigilant and take a little time, take a little effort, and see where this is going. Because sometimes it's really not that difficult. Were it left to me to decide whether we should have a government without newspapers or newspapers without a government, I should not hesitate a moment to prefer the latter. Again, Thomas Jefferson. All right, back to the phones. Good morning, welcome.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
I am well. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent, thank you.
Great.
In terms of the topic about fake news, I find too that people who are quick to claim fake news are oftentimes just as dangerous as the fake news itself, because they can use the fake news as a cover to mislead others. And oftentimes the fake news, you can check it and you can obviously see that it's fake. But sometimes the deception that people employ by saying fake news, sometimes you can't check that. So it creates more of a problem when people are quick to say fake news. And we kind of see that with Trump. Everything was fake news. But underlining, he had a level of truth to it. But he was quick to say fake news. And then upon investigation, you realize that he had some truth to it. So I'm just saying that fake news, sometimes it's obvious that it's fake. You can look at the source. The source obviously is not a credible source. You can look at the outrageousness of what is being claimed. But then persons now who use that as a cover to dispense deceptive information, I find that it's more dangerous that way. So we have to be quick. We have to be careful not to be quick to say something is fake news. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and use it as a cover. Thank you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Yeah, President, good morning to you.
Yes, sir.
Oh dear. We have to be careful and so on, especially media. Right now there is a lawsuit against the Guyana Chronicle about something just about Clive Light, which was not true. They said something that they wrote something that they claim he said, and he didn't have no interview with them and them kind of thing like that, and now they're facing the court. And over the years we have seen lawsuits taken out against persons who want to discredit other people personally and so on. And it seems as if some journalists is not learning and so on. Because what happened the other day with here in Candid, when a group you expect to be reputable bringing out news that is not true, and the Attorney General had to come and clear up the same news. Mm-hmm. So that's all.
Yep. Alright, even the newspapers are polluted. Nothing can now be believed which is seen in a newspaper. Truth itself becomes suspicious by being put in that polluted vehicle. Thomas Jefferson. Alright.
Yes.
We gotta go to the phones. Good morning. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Is your boy here again?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to tell you something.
Listening.
It's a small communist, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always hear this saying, 1,000 men So no Frenchman can tell lie.
Okay.
So some things that people just say, it just be true. Some don't be true. So you got to pick out the wrong from the right. You understand? And the majority of it just come in from walking. Because if a shark come in the water, come out the water and tell you, only got 20 dead money inside there. You ain't gonna believe the shark.
Absolutely.
Eh?
Yeah.
Right. So, majority of the people who work in office is who just spread rumors and what's going on when nothing going on. So, you understand? And again, majority of the things you can see going on in St. Kitts because we don't. Some of us don't believe in God. Some of us don't believe in God. And if we believe in God, and we pray, and we pray hard for your country, we would not go through these things what other countries go through. Look, Angola shut down the other day. Who was saying this come back and shut down? It's because the pastors them here, they don't pray. They believe in money more than God. You may not agree with me, but I could tell you, because I could see it every day. Majority of them, all them are talk about special offering, love offering, and all them kind of things. But very love for the country. St. Kitts used to be a God-fearing country. Look how we come. Look how we come now. And that's my input.
Okay, and we thank you for that input. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. You see, part of the problem here is that, as I said before, we sometimes are our worst enemies. Because sometimes with the advent of all this new technology and of all the power we have in the palm of our hands, I mean, when it comes to information, it can be used for good, but sometimes we choose to use it for bad. Everything comes to us in the palm of our hands with the devices that we now have access to. Everybody have access to these devices. And the amount of thing that circulates through these devices, I mean, you gotta start being critical and weeding them out. But what happens is our first instinct is to forward. And without any regard for whether it is factual or not. Every person we talk to as our friend or family has one of these devices. I no longer have to wait till I see you and maybe forget something to talk to you about. I can get something this minute that's juicy and you could have it in the same minute. All my friends could have it seconds later. Alright? And so it's tempting. it's tempting because we get it, and it doesn't, space, time, distance no longer matter, because there's stuff reaching us in St. Kitts from far away lands before people next to me get it, before my neighbor has it. I'm getting it from faraway lands about something that's happening in St. Kitts. And so the information, the speed at which information is traveling, I mean, it's amazing. And in a way, it's uncontrollable to an extent, but controllable to another extent, because we don't have to participate in that, but we do. Why we do? I don't know, because it's good, feels good, and like I say, it's some juicy stuff. But we have a certain responsibility as a people, and to make sure that what we're putting out there is factual. There are those who thrive on that, on the fake news, because that is their business, right? But we don't have to support their business because it's not good for us. And so the sooner we accept and realize that, then the better it will be for all of us, because the fake news itself can be detrimental to us, each and every one of us, our family, our loved ones. So let's be careful about what we're pushing or what we're passing on. Sometimes it's a lot easier and better to just delete it, because it serves no purpose other than to hurt other people and to feed other people with things that are not factual and therefore not useful. Alright, so that's it. That's my take for today. Thank you all for your calls. Thank you all for your input. I do apologize for initial hiccups, but we're good to go. And we will continue our conversations here tomorrow, if it is to be, with another edition of Frank and Candid. I am Tony Nias. Go out and enjoy the rest of your day. See you.